Good morning and welcome back to Finding Mojo. I'm your host Pete, and today I'm going to read chapter 1 of book 4 in the Qui Magi series, Jinn. Now book 4 commences the second trilogy, so books 1 to 3 were all around one story as a trilogy, and books 4 to 6 are the second trilogy. I'll leave a link below if you'd like to read the rest of the book. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Cheers. Here we go. Chapter 1. Qui Magi, Jinn. Jerusalem, May 1233 AD. Ishraq awoke unexpectedly in the pre-dawn, a couple of hours before sunrise. After sitting up in bed and listening carefully, he heard nothing out of place, only the gentle snoring of his wife Yamina, who slept soundly by his side. He slipped out of bed and moved quietly around the house, checking doors and windows. Then he looked in on Najih, who was also asleep. "What is it, Aljidu? Why are you awake?" Najih asked. "I thought I heard something." "Why are you awake, Najih?" Ishraq replied, leaning against the door frame. Najih sat up in bed and said, "I must have heard something too. Let's look around." They made their way throughout the house to find nothing out of place, and so climbed the stairs to the rooftop. The pre-dawn air was cool but not cold, and it smelled fresh after a light shower had settled the dust. Both stood still and listened as the famed city of Jerusalem slept. "There, did you hear that?" Najih said, holding up a hand. "A kind of whispering sound." Ishraq stood still and listened. After a moment he said, "It's a thought message. Someone is trying to get through." "But there's too much interference in the city. People's thoughts and dreams are making too much noise." Najih listened and nodded. "Yes, but it's a faint message also." Ishraq pondered for a moment and then said, "I felt something like this before, a long time ago. It comes from way beyond." "The dead?" Najih asked with an involuntary shiver. Ishraq was silent for a moment and then replied, "Not sure, my son. But there is one way to know for certain. We must go into the desert and listen without the interference from the city and its dreamers." "Now?" Najih asked with surprise. Ishraq nodded slowly, as if distracted by some half-formed thought. "Yes, Najih, now. I'd like you to accompany me." "Shall we get the camels?" Najih asked excitedly, anticipating an adventure. "No, I believe we can save all that trouble and just go on foot. We should not need to travel too far before we are clear of the influence of the city. Come, let's not delay. Whoever it is wants to communicate with us urgently, despite the hour. It must be important." After pulling on their cloaks and sandals, they slipped quietly out of the house and along the empty, darkened streets of Jerusalem. Najih stayed close behind Ishraq, as he was a little scared of the city at night. He'd heard too many stories as a child on the streets of Acre. With the city empty of human and animal traffic, it was a simple matter to find their way to the gates, where they explained to the gatekeeper that they wished to walk outside for a time and enjoy the night in the desert. He smiled and opened a small gate for them to pass, and the two found themselves outside the city walls in a few steps. The desert stretching around them was visible as a grey blanket under the pale light of the stars and the waxing moon. Ishraq led the way out into the rocky ground that surrounded the city walls, the scene of many bloody sieges of the past. They walked further into an area of dunes beyond, where they stopped. "Let us remain here for a time and see if we can hear any better," Ishraq suggested, as he sat cross-legged on the cold, damp sand. Najih gazed at the night sky in wonder. It always looked so much brighter from the desert, he mused. Suddenly his thoughts were interrupted by a hissing sound. His first thoughts were of a snake, and he jumped to his feet and searched the ground around them. Relax, Najih. This sound is not a natural one. It's only heard in your mind. Listen and watch. You're about to see something that may surprise you. Do not be alarmed. It is the Al-Ghaib, the hidden, Ishraq said calmly. After taking another cautious scan of their surroundings, Najih sat and listened once more. When all was silent, Ishraq spoke quietly. Najih, what do you know of the Jinn? You've told me that they are part of the Al-Ghaib, that they are spirits from another world and can visit us to cause harm or help. And they can take on shapes of animal and even people. Yes, true, and more than that, Ishraq replied thoughtfully. After a moment he added, You're about to meet one. Najih began to fidget nervously. His breathing became noticeably quicker. Ishraq placed a hand on his shoulder. Be calm. Make a circle around you in the sand like this, he said, demonstrating. And repeat after me. Ishraq then recited a prayer of protection from the Quran, and the young man dutifully repeated the words in Arabic. A light breeze caressed their skin and funneled through the dunes, increasing in strength until it formed a spinning vortex before them. It caught up the sand, raising it into a funnel. Najih's eyes opened wide in fear as the vortex moved closer, accompanied by a whispering voice inside their minds. Greetings, Magus. I hope you are well. It's been such a long time. Do you remember me? The disembodied voice whispered in their minds. How could I forget you, Qadir? What urgent business do you wake me in the middle of the night for, friend? Ishraq replied mentally. The funnel of sand suddenly fell to the ground and became a large snake with red eyes, which swiftly moved through the sand in one fluid motion until it was right in front of Najih, who was panting fearfully now. Ishraq comforted him, saying, It's an illusion, Najih. Stay calm. What is it you wish to tell me? Ishraq asked again. I have news of a concerning nature. An evil genie named Jawar has escaped Suleiman's demon prison, and we believe he's on his way to Europe, using the body of a crusader, the genie said. That is troubling news. What is the purpose of this act of defiance? Ishraq asked. We do not know his thoughts. He's kept them hidden from us, but as you can imagine, his intent is unlikely to be good. This is indeed bad, Ishraq replied cautiously, wondering where this was leading. Najih was listening as well and added, Al-Jidu, perhaps Milo and his family are in danger. Indeed, young Najih, all are endangered by this, the genie replied. This is a powerful and wicked genie, and one who must be stopped before he can do great harm. We ask your help, Magus, to recapture Jawar. That's not an easy task, Ishraq replied, troubled. That is why I shall come with you, the genie replied with a hiss. But how will you travel so far from here without a body? I could take the boy, the genie whispered with a smile. No, both Ishraq and Najih replied in unison. Ishraq fell silent as he pondered this unusual request, but reached a decision almost immediately. What choice did he have? We'll find a way, Ishraq added. You can't travel as a snake. We must find your body. Perhaps at the markets? One that will not draw attention. Come, you can travel in my pocket, Ishraq said, taking a handful of sand and pouring it into the large pocket on the front of his robe. The Jinn feel at home in the desert sand, Ishraq informed his young apprentice. I so look forward to our travels together, the snake hissed as it slithered smoothly up Ishraq's arm and into his pocket, nestling into the sand at its bottom. Najih looked on, eyes wide in horror. Can we trust him? He asked. We shall see, Ishraq replied. Come, the market opens in an hour. We need to buy a new pet. End of chapter 1. Thanks for listening and have a good day. Remember to give it a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want to read the book, the link is below. Cheers.